we in the peach can. Good morning and Merry Christmas. Hey. Anyway, hey everybody. Today I'm going to make my Christmas feast, which is a boneless standing rib roast. Ta-da! There it is right there. Yeah. So, first thing I'm going to do, preheat the oven 450. Then we'll slap it in there for 25 minutes. And that's to seal the meat so that I can roast it. Okay, so what it's been seasoned with is this really cool steak seasoning from McCormick. It just simply says steak. What a concept, okay? And then the second thing that I did is I like to have a little kind of like cooked on a fire flavor to my prime rib, so I use a little, mesquite seasoning from McCormick. Grill Mates, excellent stuff. I give it 5 stars, by the way. So we're going to put it in for 25 minutes to seal the meat, and we'll be back. Well, this is the tough part, the waiting. The waiting is the hardest part, in the words of Tom Petty. But while I'm waiting, I try to put that time to good use. A glass of creative juices. Pouilly Fussé 2014. Good year. Okay, so the theory behind the prime rib roast is that you cook it for 25 minutes at 450 degrees. Then you reduce the heat to 350, and at 350 degrees, that's your slow cook and your roast, your roasting temperature. And the formula for that is pretty much 16 minutes per pound. And I have a 3-pound roast, so that's like 16 and 16 is 32, and another 16 is 48. So for 48 minutes, we shall cook it at 350 degrees, and we really are shooting for an internal temperature of 135 degrees or 140 degrees. Kind of a visual thing when I look at that. So it's important that you have an internal meat thermometer in preparing the prime rib roast. Now, this is what your roast should look like after it's been at 450 degrees for 25 minutes. So now we reduce the heat to 350, and we cook it for 16 minutes a pound at 350 degrees. So another one of the things that I'm going to do is make cornbread. But I make my cornbread kind of differently. So first thing I start with is a can of cream corn. See? And then I put my cream corn in my mixing bowl. And I use cream corn in lieu of liquid. Why do you do this, Dave? Because it's so good. And then I go to Virginia. Actually, when I go to Virginia, I go down to North Carolina to Tar Heel, to this place called Tar Heel Barbecue. And they have the best hush puppies in the world. And I get their hush puppy mix, what they use, which is Abbott's, which is good shit, okay? All right, but that's what I use, the hush puppy mix, to make my cornbread. And you'll get it. Just stick with me. What's important is getting the right mix of powder or cornmeal to the cream corn. So you have to get a whisk and start working it in. And you can tell when the mix gets about right because it starts to get to where it's very sticky and holds its form. But you know, there's no. I mean, I'm sure that there's an exact science for it. You know, I don't have time for exact science when I come to cooking, so I just sort of eyeball it and guess it. But this is actually how your batter should look, and it should be pretty dry. I mean, not real dry, but dry enough, because you don't want it to slosh around when you get ready to cook it, because how you cook it is you fry it on top of a griddle, you know. So if it's too watery, it comes out looking like a pancake, which is, you know, not so bueno. But if it's thick and has a good consistency, it stays more patty-like, and it's much more easier to eat, to consume. So I'll be starting the cornbread here shortly, because it doesn't matter when I cook that. So I'll go ahead and cook it as I can and fit it around everything else that I'm doing. Okay, so we're about ready to drop some frogs here. What we want to do is just put a lump down there. And you ain't got to do much to them. Like I say, you don't have to worry about. Maybe I should turn this down just a tad. You don't really have to worry about any kind of shape to them or anything, because they'll seek their own natural shape. But you want your griddle fairly hot. I have mine on about 350, and I mean, you know, and not everybody has an electric griddle, I guess. But just as soon as it will let you, you want to flip them, because this is the first batch, so the grill is really hot, and we don't want to burn them. Oh yeah, these are coming out. Oh, that one kind of got messed up, but hey, not enough juice down there. Gotta get some more cooking spray on the bottom. Ooh, that's some sweet. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these on a pan so I can slam them in the oven to heat them back up. But and we don't want them to cook too much on each side, like I said, so we're going to flip them a couple times in this process. We're going to flip them around. But we want them to get this kind of golden brown texture, and we want to try to get them done all the way through. So, you know, this is what they're starting to look like. You know, but again, we don't want them to get burnt on the outside, because there's nothing worse than burnt cornbread. Okay. All right. So, oh, here's a little smidgen that I'll stick that back in there. And this is pretty fascinating stuff here to me. And ideally, you know, we'll probably finish them out baking them in the oven for a little bit. So I like to get them pretty close to done, but not all the way done, because I like to slap them into the oven for a little bit before serving them. But and these are good, like I say, with just a little butter on them, a little honey on them. I know some people that like to put pancake syrup on my cornbread. That's okay too. I mean, there ain't no rules about it. Whatever tastes good, you do. Yeah, this is looking pretty good, but they're gonna have to bake in the oven a little bit too to finish them off. But yeah, these are good. I'm liking the way they're turning out. But anyway, this is how I make my cornbread, and I'll be making this to go along with everything else. So, you know, like I say, hold on. I found a problem. I have an empty wine glass. So, you hold that thought, and I'll be back in a few. So, in about a half hour, we're going to be taking the meat's temperature and checking the beast. And remember, we're looking for a internal temperature of 135 to 140 degrees, right? Right? Didn't I say that? I can't remember. Good wine, though. So, and the best part is, Marnie's coming down. She's making scallops to go with the prime rib. I have au jus gravy that I'm making in the bottom of the broiler rack that I have the roast on. What I did was I got some beef stock and poured in the bottom so that the meat, as it cooks, the juices will drop into the beef stock, and then I'll take that beef stock and pour that into a pot, a saucepan, and turn that into au jus gravy. And we're going to have asparagus. Now, one of the things that is a special treat for me is hot apple cider with Fireball